Extra time with the cardiac work, with the GPP work, all the accessory, everything. I think, like I said, the biggest thing is my nutrition locked in as well. Nutrition is locked in. All right. You're gonna have bruised egos. You really are. I'm gonna tell you, I think I put that on every single slide when we go talk about this stuff. You always got that monster that sits on your shoulder and says you ain't doing enough weight. You're not doing enough weight. You're not moving enough weight. You're not doing. Well, I don't think he's gonna say you're not doing enough work. But you're not going to feel like you're doing enough work, and you're always going to have that guy saying this ain't going to work. This just not going to work. It's not heavy enough. You got the weight on your back. You know, I don't have the weight in my hands. There's no way I'm going to get stronger from doing this. Push that shit aside, believe in it, and work at it. The more work that you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. Okay? You've got to put the work in. This is putting work in. Again, I'll address that a little more as we go on what happens to the body, okay? But this is what's going to happen at the time. You're going to not believe. I've seen it way too many times. I worked with too many individuals that wanted to cash it in after the first 4 or 5 weeks. I get a phone call going like, man, there's just no way this is going to work. I got the weight in my hands. I got the weight in my hands. I'm getting weaker. I'm just getting weaker. Trust me. You're putting a lot of work in. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to be hitting. You're like, well, yeah, I feel fit, but I'm just not getting stronger. You'll be fine. Transmutation block, that's where I can talk way too long. Transmutation, for the most part, we're going to be moving more general specific. Okay? So you're still having your competition lifts in there. Then we're going to add in what we call like specialized developmental movements that help bring up the weaknesses or the inadequacies of whatever your competition movement is. Alright? That's the very simplistic form of looking at your transmutation block. Higher intensity. Volume's still going to be very moderate. It's not going to be low. It's going to be moderate. Okay? Not on the high end of things, so obviously bring intensity up. You've got to bring that volume down a little bit, but you're still going to put a shit ton of work in. This is where you're going to be more than likely hurting the most throughout your entire training cycle. This is where you put the most work in. All right? For the most part, like I said, main two movements are still there. Specialized adult movements are added in. The general movements that we were doing in the accumulation are still going to be around, but it's going to be bang for buck. What is still working for you, what really still needs to be in there. So we're only going to be, we only do probably 2 to 3, at most 4 exercises within that within this phase, meaning accessory, after your specialized development. Okay. Now, percentage range-wise, I drop it back down to 75%. I call accumulation, go all up to 80. You can. Okay, transmutation-wise, you can go anywhere from 75 all the way up to 90. That's going to be your range for a transmutation block. 70 is too low. 70 is not going to be, well, depending upon the volume that you do, my range is going to be 75 all the way up to 90. Okay. Total volume anywhere from 12 to 20 reps on your main movements, and that can be determined that will also be determined about how hard and how heavy and what movement you do for your specialized movement. That still will be determined upon that, but for the most part, that range is 12 to 20. Your rep range is going to be anywhere from 2 to 4. If you're down to 75%, obviously you can crank out those 4 reps. Okay? Even if you're up at 83, you can knock out a triple and be like, I'm still no problem. I can get 4. You can do 4. You don't have to stick at 3 repetitions only. Just make sure it's not max effort, because it ain't supposed to be. Okay? So you get that 4th repetition, but you barely crank it out. Step it back down to about a triple or a double. All right, so you got that rep range to work with it. Okay. Obviously, when you get up more towards the higher end, you want to be at the lower end of the volume. All right. Now, usually I always say pick one specialized development movement for each. One specialized development movement for each lift per that day. Okay. But you can mix it up any way you want. So if you have, I'll talk about that here in a second. But for the most part, that's the coverage of what we're going to do from the standpoint of the guidelines. All right. What we'll talk about here will be an example. So, on a competition squat day, I've got my volume between 15 to 18 total reps on the day, anywhere from 80 to 84%. That's an example. Alright, and I'm going to be in the 2 to 3 rep range. That's supposed to be a 3 in price. You can see it up on TV. RDLs wise, now that's going to be my specialized developmental movement. And that's going to be mainly, it's going to work for both the squat, it's going to work a little bit more for the deadlift. So I throw an SD deadlift movement in that day, specialized developmental SD. Alright, so I'm putting a deadlift movement in on my competition squat. RDL is going to do a 4 by 6 volume at an RP of 8 with straps. How I can do 4x6, I can just guidelines based off of how much volume I did, on my squat that day, how much work do I want to put in with my RPE. Number's always going to be a little bit lower, especially when the volume, when the intensity is higher. When I'm saying intensity, even the intensity of your main movement, that volume just wants to be down just a little bit. You want to be cranking out 8 to 10 repetitions because it's a specialized movement. It's going to be heavier. You want it to be heavier. It's bringing up the inadequacy that's going on within your main movement. Okay? And I have that in RPU8 and I'm using wrist straps. Why? I don't want hand grip to tax my central nervous system any more than I have to, so I don't want to hold on to a little bit more weight and utilize what I need to do. Okay? So that's why I have straps. 2 to 3 exercises afterwards. Now that's where I said I'm not going to put an example. You can insert your own 2 to 3 exercises, 30 total volume reps. What did I say? Put 30 to 40? Just what it says up there, maybe? No, 30 total volume. 8 to 10 rep range and RP of 8. All right, how do I get to 30? Like I said, based off of what percentage I'm at this point in time. I'm not down to 75, I'm not up to 90, I'm in the middle. So I'm more around that 30 rep range. Okay, 30 to 35 reps. All right. Competition bench, same setup. All right, SD movement will be a 2 more press, working on lockout work. Okay. During this time, when it comes to gear, I'll go back to that question that was asked. If you are in gear, you need to stay in gear. So if you are in gear, I mean, you prefer, or if you're a geared lifter, you definitely better be in gear when you're in this phase. Definitely 100%. Now, that can be, now I say you have, throughout your entire ride-up, you have 16 weeks, you have 2 transmutation phases. You'll probably, this is your first one, you're probably just being briefed on it if you're doing squat. Question?
About the total rep volume, or
yeah.
total volume for the accessory exercises, is that like 3 exercises, 1 set at 10 reps, or is that 30 for each?
30 for each.
Okay.
Total volume for each accessory exercise
okay.
that you use. That's just the total volume that you're going to do for anything you do afterwards.
Gotcha.
All right. Like I said, if you are a geared lifter, you better be in gear at this point in time. And you need to make sure that, like I said, depending upon how many weeks out, if this is 8 weeks out, and this is your last transmutation block, you're going to be in the full gear. Straps down, belt on, knee wraps on. Okay, if you wear knee wraps. All right? Again, something you need to make sure happens. You need to be very specific to what you need to be doing for that competition. If you're that close, if you're not that close, you still need to be in the gear, but it might just be brief only, belt only, possibly knee wraps, possibly not. That's up to you. That's how many weeks out you are, preparation-wise, where you're at. You just need to make sure that, again, gear, you need to be in it. You need to get stronger in gear, you need to be in gear. On deadlift day, again, you got a competition deadlift, but I assume we're conventional, it's up to you. So I got your volume, I use safety, squat bar, box squat with 200 pounds of chain. It's a little bit of accommodating resistance. Why? I want to work the top end and my upper back within that squat. Okay? Why do I use a box? I'm changing up the movement. I want to come down, I'm going to sit on it. I'm still going to have my briefs on, I'm still going to sit light, I'm not rocking, I'm not loosening up. When I squat that weight up, what's going to happen? First off, to say squat bar is trying to overload my back by rounding me forward. I got to fight against that. I'm adding 200 pounds of chain as I push up through it. I am working my upper back, rectors, just kicking my ass. If that's a weakness for you, that's one method you can go out doing it. It's just a movement. You don't have to have 200 pounds of chain. You don't have to say the squat bar. Whatever you pick. Okay? And actually, last day, bench. I use the kind of get another auxiliary day. Specialize a little bit, bench with 120 pounds of chain, 4x6. Again, another move we put in there that you're not going to do a competition bench twice a week, half the time, especially if you're in gear. You can't get 2 times a week in your shirt unless you have a great group.
Maybe I'm a little lost here. Back up at day 1, you said now you're going to go with your, put straps on. Are you talking your shoulder straps?
Talking about gear?
I know you're full gear, but are you
no, I asked a question. You're talking about gear?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're
deadlift straps, like wrist straps, is that what you're saying?
Are you talking about
number 1, day 1?
Yeah, RDL with straps.
Yeah.
Wrist straps. Just wrist straps. Hold on the bar.
Why? And you said, but the second statement you made with that was you don't want to overtax
my central nervous system.
Central nervous system, yeah. But then you go down and you're talking about using chains and all that other stuff, which are central nervous system taxing.
Any kind of resistance to central nervous tax.
I guess, why did you choose there?
Why did I choose there?
Yeah, why did you choose there to eliminate?
Number 1, I don't know many individuals other than, literally I'm using you as a good example this time, Matt, that can literally hold on, double overhand grip, to the amount of weight that you would want to use on the RDL to elicit the responses you want, okay? So if you can't actually hold on to that weight, I'm gonna use wrist straps, and that's another thing that I said along with the taxing.
Okay, I just missed.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You know, taxing the central nervous system. I mean, it's not the only reason I'm wearing them. The biggest reason I'm gonna wear them, for me personally, and for any individual I would recommend, is a lot of times people don't have that grip strength to maintain double overhand. I don't wanna train you one over, one under, because you're pulling one
Sure.
side opposite from the other. So you wanna have that wrist strap on. Again, depending upon, like I said, where we're at, we're transmutation based. Weight's gonna be heavier. I want it to be heavier. You're gonna want to elicit the response that you want from a strength standpoint. So wearing those wrist straps at that point in time might be a better idea. Everything is taxing on your central nervous system, everything within this program.
Right, right.
If I can limit one area to enhance another one down the road with, you know, you're talking about the competition dead, and I'm also throwing in that safety squat bar squat, I'm just killing myself that week.
Okay.
So if I can take it away from anywhere, and again, it's just me, it's your ability to look at it as a whole and say, like, is this too much stress? You know, is it too much stress on my central nervous system? Am I going to be able to handle it? Well, again, that always goes back to preparation, always goes back to all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's just putting them in there to take a little bit off and use more weight.
Okay, just missed a little bit.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, you're good. And I got to get moving on. You know, what to expect, very simplistic. You know, you will be up to a 2-hour training session at this point in time, but I'm talking about getting warm up, cool down, get through your entire program while you're working, and then allowing yourself to rest in between so you can allow yourself to get all that work done. Body will feel beat up at this point in time. Forearms and joints, you know, those things, they're going to be a little beat up. Why? You're at higher intensities, higher weight. You're going to be moving a lot more weight. Now, for an individual that, you know, you're only moving 315 compared to the individual that may be moving 600 pounds, obviously maybe 315 guy had no issues. 600-pound guy might have more issues. It really depends on the person. Just be able to just expect that you're not going to necessarily feel like $1 million during this point in time, and that's normal. You're putting a lot of work in at a higher intensity.